Welcome to IH Talks. I'm Lucy Cockrell from IH British School Reggio Calabria, and today we're talking about why we should love observations with Estelle. And the general subject of this talk is teacher training and CPD.
Hello, I'm Estelle Hélouin from IH World.
Hello, Estelle. So tell me why you think we should be talking about loving observations.
Okay, so first, it has become apparent to me more and more that, well, everybody conducts observations for a start. All teachers are observed, and there is a general understanding that observations are very useful. However, I haven't found many people who would say that they love observations. So my mission is that observation should not only be useful, but they should be a positive experience as well.
And how did you come to this as the topic for your talk?
Well, last year at the IH conference, I gave a talk which was a collection of various things which were possibly a bit controversial, or maybe thoughts that people have but don't really dare say it out loud. And it seemed like two of those points seemed to resonate with a lot of participants. One was to get rid of paperwork, and the other one was to get rid of teaching criteria or specific criteria for observations. And so it was quite striking how excited people were with the idea of getting rid of those two things, but possibly didn't really know how to do this.
And so sorry, Estelle, go on. I was going to try and do it.
No, please ask.
No, I was just wondering then, how do we go about doing this?
Okay, so perhaps let's go with the why first. So paperwork is for me, it's quite an easy one. Nobody needs paperwork as far as I'm concerned, because the information that we need can either be given orally, and sometimes the information is already available. So for example, if you want to know what a teacher did before, or the materials that they've used, nowadays, very often this is on a platform that the teacher uses, for example, or it can be given during the session. The observer will see what is being used, and providing they understand the language that they are observing, they will be able to know what is happening in the class. So it doesn't mean that teachers don't need to plan, but not every teacher will write a detailed plan. Maybe they'll just write a bit of an outline of what they're going to do. And the paperwork, really, any kind of table or paperwork or lesson plan should only be produced if it's useful for the teacher, not necessarily for the observer, if we think that an observation should be something that is going to help the teacher develop. So removing the paperwork will, for a start, remove a lot of work from the teacher that is not necessary for their own development. And so it will free up time, and observations will also seem like less of a heavy process for both, because I don't think observers necessarily like paperwork either, to be honest. As far as criteria are concerned, when we use specific criteria, it often means that a teacher will be more likely to try to teach to those criteria, and that can result in display lessons. That can also give the impression that our whole evaluation is based on what happened in one lesson rather than what happens in the rest of the course. However, when we go and observe a class, we can see much more than what happens in that lesson. We can see what the learners have learned since the beginning of the course and what they are able to produce during the class, and strategies that they're using, the kind of their needs, the mistakes they're making, and so on and so forth. Also, using specific criteria is a bit contradictory to what we expect from teachers, because we expect teachers to adapt to their learners, not to teach every group in the same way. However, we always seem to have the same criteria, whoever we're going to see and whatever group of learners. So instead of criteria, I feel that if we focus on the learners, and we also ask the teacher what they would like to focus on, what they would like to develop, maybe before we're going to see them, or after, when we have our discussion with them, it will lead to a much more developmental process, and one that is really focused on the teacher's needs and the learner's needs and interests.
Okay, great. So if I can summarize, you think that for an observation to really be developmental, we need to take away the criteria, we need to take away the paperwork, we need to focus more on, well, we need to also ask the teacher what they want and focus more on the learning that's happening rather than the criteria. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this will also lead to a much more collaborative process, and it will engage teachers much more.
Okay, thank you so much, Estelle. This brings to an end our IH talk for today.